So the challenge whenever you run anything and as a team or whatever it is that when you know you're going to be out of the office, is extracting yourself out. So what's hard about doing that is you actually, well, at least the way I do it, you've actually got to start that process 2 weeks before you leave, if you know it's coming. So by the time that you leave, there's almost nothing reliant on you. Now, what's hard about that is if something goes wrong, you might get pulled back in, which did happen. And it happens to me every event. There's always something that needs to be addressed, and et cetera. So you end up, double dipping between being in an event, but also worrying about what's going on back at the office. But you got to trust your people. I wouldn't say that's the hard part. If you've got good people, then it's usually quite easy. But the hard part is not being a micromanager. So, you've got to give them you can identify the problem, be involved in setting up the approach, but then you've got to back off and let them get on with it. And that's the hard part because you're basically walking around an event doing stuff, but your mind can be occupied on what's going on. You can easily get pulled into becoming a checking every 5 minutes kind of person and actually slowing down the process. Well, so I find being out of the process very good because you can be holistically looking at the process and seeing it without being in the trenches. And the process is not necessarily the important piece of this. It's seeing how the team works. It's trying to identify the gaps. It's seeing where there's areas for improvement. And it's also seeing how people respond to being, I typically will let people get on with this stuff anyway. I like to, people to be self-driven and independent. But it's good to be out of the process to experience what's happening because it teaches you a lot. So the next thing, I already come back to processes. So, and it's probably one of the reasons why Valuu is still not quite where I want it to be. Not to say the product's bad at all. I think we've actually done a lot of good stuff with the product, but it's still very difficult to get information out to make a decision. At least in our current form, there's too many systems, there's too many gaps, knowledge that's siloed, et cetera, et cetera. So the lesson is to try and make it as part of the everyday system to be pulling that information out as part of a smaller report. So what do I mean by that? When I was in the corporate world, we used to call them fire drills. The question that comes down, and this is urgent, need information, et cetera, and then you would have to shift your whole focus to answer that question, which usually would be a bunch of slides that convert into one slide that answers some question that literally you might spend 4 hours making, but is a 2-minute review in a meeting. So but the pressure to put those slides together and to be ready for the meeting is immense till you get to that meeting. And then usually if you're on the right track, it's a pretty much a non-event in some cases. Obviously it can also be a big event, but usually in most cases they're you're fine now. So the lesson is to continuously every day have small bits of information that when you have to do the fire drill, you've got that information in hand. And of course, in the world that we live in now, the ability to automate things and to provide it, in a systemized way is that much easier than it was, say, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. But the trick is to have it like a muscle, like you do bicep curls or chest press or whatever it is. You do lots of repetitions to get it ready. And that's the lesson, is to have continual flow that when that fire drill comes, it's like, oh, we've already got that information. Here's the dashboard, here's the screen. And kind of nirvana, because you'll hear about the single pane of glass view or the one-click report. And I think we kind of get that with what we're doing with the sequence functionality in Valuu. We've got the order of priorities, we've got the key milestones, and we've got the live log of what's going on. I think we'll get to that and solve that problem. But I noticed it with this issue that presented itself last week, that it was very difficult to get a handle on it because everything was so distributed, which is not a bad thing either, because you want it to be distributed, because you want to empower people to get on with what they need to get on with. But that cohesion, to be able to get the one-click view of things, that's the thing that I'm trying to solve. And I think that there's a lot of lessons in what do you actually need to know at what time, and what information is important in context.